What are we gonna have for supper?
Mickey Waffles.
Mickey Waffles? Are you hungry? Okay, it's time to eat.
Eat!
Hey y'all, welcome back to Homemade Simple. If we've not met before, I'm Lori. I am so glad to be back in the kitchen with y'all this week. I know that we have taken quite a break from our regular cooking and recipe videos, but today we are going to go back into the kitchen and talk about some of the meals that my family and I have been enjoying over the past couple of weeks. Some of the meals that we have been having to try to focus on health and nutrition, but also trying to keep those meals as inexpensive as possible. It's tax season and other things are just continuing to squeeze our finances, and I know that a lot of you are feeling the same. So I hope this week's video will help you come up with some good, healthy, nourishing meals to feed your family while still sticking to your budget.
I am so glad to be back in the kitchen with y'all. I have enjoyed playing around with some good, healthy, nourishing recipes the past couple of weeks, and I'm glad to be able to share some of those with y'all. Today, I'm going to be making some waffles for dinner. This is a simple, easy recipe that I like to cook up maybe on a Sunday evening or a Saturday morning. Really, any weeknight is perfect for waffles because it comes together really quickly, and also the kids are able to help. Lane loves to have his own bowl and have his own spoon. He enjoys participating in cooking, and so I'm really glad to be able to share the kitchen tasks with him. This recipe has served me well for so long. I really enjoy making this recipe, and it is so versatile that it's really hard to mess it up. But the base of this recipe is 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 4 teaspoons of baking powder. I use 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. And in this recipe, I'm going to be adding some sourdough starter. Now, if that makes you afraid, and if you are not interested in sourdough starter at all, it's fine, and you can make this recipe without any sourdough whatsoever. I use 1 cup of sourdough starter in this recipe, but if you don't have a sourdough starter or you do not like sourdough, that's completely fine, and you can just substitute 3/4 cup flour and 1/4 cup of water in place of the 1 cup of sourdough starter. So if you don't have a sourdough starter, no worries. You can still make it just fine. I added several eggs to this one. I think I may have added like 4 or 5 eggs. You can add however many or however few eggs you want to. The recipe calls for 1 egg, but I just used a lot because we have a ton of eggs coming in and I needed a way to use them. I also added 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. You can substitute that with butter or any other kind of oil that you like to cook with. I added 1 cup of milk and 1 cup of vanilla yogurt. You can leave the vanilla yogurt out if you prefer. It adds a lot of protein and it adds a good amount of substance to the finished product, but it's not essential, it's not necessary. What I love about this recipe is how generous and forgiving it is. I know that I can do a lot with it and it's still going to turn out really good. We have a little Mickey Mouse waffle maker that Lane loves, and actually his sisters love it too. So we always have to make a couple of Mickey waffles, but for the rest of the recipe, I just put it in this huge Belgian waffle maker that I bought at the thrift store. If you don't have a waffle maker, it is so worth it. It is a really good tool to have in your kitchen. I'll link one from Amazon down below, but if you like to thrift or yard sale, these are easy to find, especially like at an estate sale or a thrift store. You'll be able to find a good waffle maker for $5 or $10, and it's really a good thing to have in your pantry. I would highly recommend investing in one of those. Again, I will link one down below, and if I can find this little Mickey one, I'll link it too. I'm sorry if it grosses you out that I'm using my hands. I do that out of habit, and then I end up burning myself, and it's all a big mess sometimes. But I don't know. Is that typical? Do y'all do that too? I don't know. Maybe it's just a Lori thing, but I just really find it easy. My hands are always available, but I always end up touching the wrong thing. I'm going to scramble up a lot of eggs too. We have so many eggs and need to use them up. So I just scrambled a pan full of eggs and add them to the meal as well. And then I'm just going to chop up a couple of strawberries and bananas for our side. Maybe this is minimal thinking, but if I have one entree and one side, like a vegetable or a fruit, I feel like that is plenty. I feel like that is good enough. And then this meal also has a grain along with it, the waffles. And so this is, I think, a really well balanced meal. It's got a ton of protein because of the eggs, yogurt, and milk in the waffles, as well as the scrambled eggs. It's got vitamins and minerals and all of that, as well as having plenty of vitamins and minerals in the strawberries and bananas. So adding a little bit of maple syrup will finish this meal off and make it absolutely perfect. My kids like the fake syrup. I love maple syrup, and I think fake syrup is just yucky. Be sure you try this recipe. Let me know what your family thought about it. It is really good, really easy to throw together, and it is always delicious. Okay, I hope that y'all don't think that I am completely lazy for doing 2 breakfast meals in this video, but I really wanted to share this delicious biscuit recipe with y'all. This, again, is a recipe where I used my sourdough discard to make biscuits. I just did that because when you have a discard, you're always trying to figure out how not to waste it. So I decided I was going to see if there was a way I could make biscuits with it. Y'all, these were some of the best biscuits I've ever made, and they tasted delicious. The rise was incredible. If you have a sourdough starter, you need to try this recipe. So I'm just going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of butter and 1.5 cup of sourdough starter. Again, if you do not have sourdough starter, that's okay. You can just replace the sourdough starter with about 1.25 cup of flour, and I would say probably a 1/2 cup of water. Just make a mixture that's sort of the consistency of pancakes or waffles, and that's going to get you the extra liquid that you need in the recipe for it to work out. And then after the sourdough, I added a 1/2 cup of milk. You can use buttermilk or sweet milk. I used fresh and it turned out delicious. I'm sure there would be an extra twang in it if you used buttermilk, which would be even better. I rolled out these biscuits. That's a very atypical thing for me to do. I do not normally take the time to do that. I guess I was just feeling a little bit extra today. So I even put them in perfect little cutout circles. This is very rare. Okay, so while the biscuits are cooking at 350 in the oven, I'm going to fry up some bacon. I love bacon so much, and we just got our pig back from the butcher. I'm really excited about trying the bacon. I'm very hopeful that it is going to be delicious and worth all of my extra effort. You'll notice that I don't pay any attention to putting the bacon in perfect strips or anything like that. If you are frying bacon on the stove, you can just willy-nilly throw it into the skillet and turn the heat on and keep it sort of stirred up, and the bacon comes out perfect, and you don't have to worry about keeping it nice and in order. I'm going to scramble about 10 or 12 eggs, however many you need for your family. I just scramble them up. I used to add milk. I don't really even do that anymore. I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt. Some of my family likes pepper, some of them don't, so I don't really add pepper to the eggs before serving. See, look how delicious these biscuits are, and please don't notice the bottom of my oven. but I was really shocked at the rise on these biscuits. I didn't expect that much. I don't get that big of a rise whenever I make regular biscuits, so I don't know. I guess the sourdough gave it an extra oomph to be able to be extra airy and rise better, but I was really excited about it. And everything came together perfect. Everything was all ready about the same time. Got my scrambled eggs done, the bacon was finished, and the biscuits were nice and golden brown. That butter in the recipe, I think, really makes a big difference. I love how inexpensive and easy this meal is. It's perfect for any time. You don't have to have a lot of extra time to make this meal, but it just feels homey. It's sort of the perfect comfort food, at least for me. I love to add honey to my biscuits. Lane's favorite is jelly, but however you top them, I hope you give these biscuits a try. I think that you and your family are really going to love them. Another meal that we have really enjoyed in the past couple of weeks is our homemade quesadillas. I was really excited to try to make my own tortillas. You do not have to make your own tortillas. You can just use store-bought and it will be perfectly fine. But I wanted to try to use my sourdough discard to make my own tortillas, so I was going to give it a go today. I'm going to cook a lot of extra rice. I just poured in all that I had. That was 4 cups. I added 7 cups of water and just put that on to simmer. And I'm also going to cook up 1 pound of ground beef. I'm going to season it with some cumin and chili powder and salt. I'm going to allow those things to sit on the stove and cook while I am making my tortillas. Again, you do not have to make your own tortillas. I just was exploring and experimenting. I felt like maybe this was something that I could do without a lot of effort, so I was going to give it a try. To make my tortillas, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of my sourdough discard. If you don't have sourdough to use, it's fine. I will put down 2 different recipes in the description box, one using a sourdough and one just using regular flour. So if you don't have it, this is not going to leave you out. It's very easy to make your own without having sourdough. But the ingredients are going to be 1/2 cup sourdough starter, 1/4 cup of oil. I used avocado oil. You can use any kind of oil you like. 1/3 cup of water, 1 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour, and then a teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to knead it together. It's going to come out like a consistency of bread when you're kneading bread. And once I get it good and combined, I'm just going to cover it with a towel and let it sit for a little bit. It's been sitting for about 15 minutes or so. So I'm just going to roll out each little tortilla and probably get between a golf ball and tennis ball size of the dough in your hand. And then try to roll it out as thin as you can. You'll want to have a skillet heating with some oil. So you'll want to be getting your skillet hot while you're rolling out your dough. Make sure your dough is super thin. And then whenever your skillet is nice and hot, just put the tortilla into the skillet, let it cook for maybe a minute, and then flip it over. It takes a little bit of trial and error to get it exactly like you want it, but just roll them all out and cook them on one side for 1 minute, flip it over, cook it on the other side for about 30 seconds, and you're ready to make your quesadilla. For my quesadillas, I'm going to make some cheese and some with this beef and cheese. I thought that I was getting some good Mexican melty cheese. I don't know what this stuff is. It's called Fresca or something. If y'all know what this is supposed to be used for, please tell me, because it's definitely not for quesadillas. I was really disappointed and ended up just switching to cheddar cheese. That made it a lot better. I was so happy with how these tortillas turned out. It's sort of like homemade bread. For the little bit of extra effort you have to put into making them, it really does make a big difference in the end result. I chopped up a few tomatoes and topped the quesadilla with some sour cream, and we had the rice and beans as well. This was a really nice festive dinner that was easy to put together but tasted delicious. Our last meal for today's video is homemade pizza, and this was a really fun one to put together. I'm gonna make my own sauce. All I did was pour some crushed tomatoes in a pot, add some salt, and probably a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons or so of sugar. Stir that together really well, and then just let it simmer on the stove while I make the rest of the pizza. A little earlier in the day, I had put together the dough. I again was experimenting with my sourdough discard. It really did turn out well, and if you are looking for a good pizza dough recipe, this is the one to try. Again, like with the other recipes, I'll be sure to put a non-sourdough recipe for pizza crust down in the description below as well. But this recipe, I used 1/2 cup of sourdough discard, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and about 4 cups of flour, and then 1 cup of water. I let that rise all day, and it did perfect. You don't have to give it an overnight rise. It just needs a good 3 or 4 hours to be able to rise well. I just divided my dough into 2 and tried to roll it out as well as I could. And then I called in all of the kids to put together the pizza however they wanted.
I like this cheese too slimy.
That's fine.
Just cheese too? Okay, sprinkle it on here. Sprinkle. Sprinkle. Come on. Put your hands in here. Oh! Oops. Do we want it saucy or do we want it dry? Okay. There's no crust. Leave crust.
If you ask for more sauce, you got more sauce. Stop whining.
No! Did I wash? I washed my hands. Did you wash your hands?
Stars.
Ham. Ham. Ham on a pizza? Now I can't do it really straight.
I really enjoy getting the kids in the kitchen every opportunity I can. I love when they help me make dinner, and I enjoy every moment I can spend with them. I hope that y'all will give this pizza crust a try. It really turned out good, and it was a delicious dinner.
All of those meals have turned out really good, and they have all been a huge hit here at our house. I hope you will give them a try. Let me know what your family thinks. Also, be sure to share in the comments below your family's favorite quick and easy frugal meals that you like to put on the table every single week that help you keep your budget low but also keep your family nourished. Also, if you think this video will help one of your friends or family members, please be sure to send it over to them. That really helps this channel reach more and more people. That's what I hope to do with these videos, help as many people as we can feed their family nourishing, healthy meals while still being able to stick to their budget. Also, if you will like the video and be sure to subscribe to the channel, that really helps the channel to grow. Thank you for watching today. I hope you have a wonderful week. I love you, and I will see you again next time.